My pregnancy wasn't like normal women's pregnancies, but I never thought that the delivery would be as much of a nightmare as it was. My son Lucas was due on October 3rd, but he wasn't born until the afternoon of the 16th. Those 2 weeks went by in slow motion. By that time, Lucas was so big that I couldn't lie on my back or move quickly without starting to tip over. The doctors were crazy for letting it go that long. The night before I went into labor, I ate a Halloween bowl full of mini Milky Way bars, so I thought that the first labor pains were just indigestion. I got up at 2 a.m. to take a hot shower, and suddenly my water broke all over the shower floor. I figured I'd just take my time shaving my legs before I woke my husband Joe up. Not the brightest idea on my part. By the time I dried off and woke Joe, the contractions were starting. Joe was running around like a madman, picking up the overnight bags we'd packed weeks before and trying to lay towels down on the white interior of our BMW. In the 2-minute drive to the hospital, I remember itching terribly as the skin around my cervix stretched to 5 times its normal size, and feeling as nauseated as I'd ever been. As soon as we got to the birthing center, Joe and I started our Lamaze techniques, because I'd informed the doctors that I would be having a natural childbirth. How idiotic. They put me in a ratty green gown, performed the classic 1980s enema to ensure that I wouldn't crap myself during labor, and I immediately went to the bathroom to vomit before I had to start pushing. From 3 a.m. to 1 p.m., I pushed and I pushed and I pushed. Even when the doctors told me not to push, my body couldn't keep from doing it. I saw the sun come up over the garden outside my window, and I remember thinking it was completely ridiculous that it had been dark when we arrived at the hospital. I was starving. They would only give me ice chips, but they were the most delicious ice chips I had ever had. They smelled cold. Lucas got stuck in the birth canal around mid-morning, and from then on, the tyrannical male doctors tried to convince me that they could force the baby out by attaching a suction cup to his head and getting the largest man in the unit to come push on the top of my stomach. As bad as it sounds, I wasn't worried that the force would hurt Lucas. I was terrified that the giant was going to kill me. I wasn't thinking right. I remember a nurse repeating over and over, "I'm so sorry, this happened to me too," as the doctor sliced through my skin in an attempt to allow more space for Lucas to pass through. Having your nether regions cut open and then ripping through the incision hurts a lot less than you'd think when you're out of your mind, though. Once the doctors realized that nothing was working, and Lucas' heart rate dropped, they wheeled me out of the birthing room to perform an emergency C-section. As the fluorescent light bulbs flashed past me, I didn't care whether I was dying or not. All my senses were internalized, and nothing in the world mattered. They'd finally drugged me, and I wouldn't have cared if there were a marching band playing When the Saints Go Marching In beside me. The next thing I remember, I was waking up in the recovery room, and even my eyeballs were sore from straining so hard. Joe was telling me to open my eyes and look at the Polaroid picture he'd taken of our baby boy. In that moment, it was all worth it.